Before New York session even opens, the market tips its hand and most traders have no clue. In this video, I'm going to show you guys how to read the overnight inventory and how doing so will give you a massive edge on a daily basis right from the minute the market opens. For a very long time now, I have been creating daily trade plans using market profile analysis. The Trading Network really got its start because I found a way to create a daily trade plan, and I started sharing these daily trade plans for free on Facebook. Eventually, I created a website. I started sharing them on Instagram, and countless traders started to find success in the markets utilizing these daily trade plans that I was creating and releasing for free. Fast forward 5, 6, 7 years, I am still using the same exact method and the very simple technique to analyze the overnight inventory and create these daily trade plans. Nothing has changed when it comes to how I plan my trading day and how I use this information to carve out an edge in the futures markets on a daily basis. So what is the overnight inventory, you might ask? Very simple. Overnight inventory is simply all of the trading activity or all of the price action that takes place after New York session closes and before New York session opens the next day. So for those very green to the sessions, to those very green to market profile, welcome. And just to be clear, the New York session is from 9:30, if I can type, 9:30 a.m. Eastern time to 5 p.m. Eastern time, okay? So Globex is all of the trading activity, price action that is after 5 p.m. Eastern time and before 9:30 a.m. Eastern time, all right? So what we do is we analyze the positioning of the traders in the Globex session, in the overnight session, and we use that information to give us an edge in the next session. So for example, if price trends in one direction in the overnight session, that is considered an imbalanced inventory, okay? Give me one sec. I'm just gonna give you guys a quick example here, all right? So we have two different market types, right? We've got a range, right? Price bounces back and forth between two known levels, looks something like this, okay? Make sense? Then we have another type of market activity called the trend, okay? I know, bear with me, I know this is really simple, but this is imbalanced activity, okay? So when we are trending, when we are moving in one direction and not bracketing between two known levels, trend equals imbalance, all right? When the market is moving out of balance, it is often an opportunity to take advantage of weak hands that are quicker to cover, for example, in a trending market. So how we can use this to our advantage, I'll reel it back a little bit and I'll explain how you can simply analyze how the overnight inventory is positioned, and then I will tell you guys how you can use that information to find some good trade setups and create a trade plan for every single day that you sit down and you trade the markets. All right, friends, so here is the deal. How we determine the overnight inventory bias is pretty simple. We look at the settlement price. For those of you guys not familiar with the settlement price, it is basically the closing price. There are a few stipulations on technically on how the CME calculates the settlement price, but more or less it's going to be either exactly the closing price or within a few points of the closing price every single day. All right. So as we see here on the profile, I'll zoom in just so you guys can see what's up. We have the C period on the NinjaTrader market profile here, and that is where price closed. All right. So I am just going to drop a little line here. Boom. We've got a horizontal line where the closing price was yesterday. All right. So then we look at, here's where NQ closed yesterday. All right. Or on Friday, technically, because it's Monday. And then we look at how the overnight inventory from Sunday into Monday was positioned. Right. So if we look, a large majority, right. So there is 68 points. And then we have a 283 point range in the overnight session, right? So you can see that a majority of the overnight price action, 213 out of the 280 points, have been below the settlement price from Friday, right? So once again, to put simply, price spent most of its time in the overnight session below the close from Friday. If the overnight inventory spends most of its time below the settlement price from the prior New York session, the higher probability is that New York session rebalances that inventory. This is exactly what we saw today, my friends. You can see here that this is the overnight session from Sunday into Monday, June 22nd into June 23rd. A majority of the price action took place below the close from Friday, right here, okay? That means that the overnight inventory was short. ON short, look for New York to rebalance, okay? Very, very simple. Is it 100% probability? Absolutely not. But does that give you a significant edge? Yes. And this is just one example of how it works today, okay? So you can see today's session, we opened up, we had an open, basically test drive to the upside. And yes, we revisited these lower levels, but you don't need to stick around for these later periods if you can take advantage of a rebalancing of the overnight inventory. This is just one method, all right? And it works both ways, right? So let's say that the overnight inventory was long and price spent most of its time above the closing price, right? That would mean that there's a higher probability for New York session to fade that long overnight inventory and rebalance to the downside, okay? So this is just one simple way that you can create your trade plan. If you go back and you could literally go back and backtest my trade plans for 5 years and see that it has, 60, 70+% hit rate over hundreds of trading days, probably thousands of trading days, right? 1,000 trading days, at least, I would say. And, this isn't something that I pulled out of a hat that I just found. This has been working for a lot longer than I've been trading, and it will continue to work, as I say, for all of these market profile techniques, because market auction theory doesn't change. It doesn't matter what kind of algorithms are in the market. It doesn't matter what kind of large participants are in the market. The trading psychology or the way that the human brain works does not change, and it probably won't change. That's why the 80% value rule still works. That's why you can read about it in a book from 1985 and then use it on a trading day in 2025. So the settlement price is essentially the dividing line between a balanced and imbalanced overnight inventory. Okay, so you can see here, let's see. So this is one situation. Well, this is a holiday, so I'm just going to keep cruising along here. Let's see, zoom into this profile here. Let's see where it closed. All right, so boom, price closed here, down here on this day on the June 13th. You guys can test this out as well. Price closed around 21,865. Then the overnight inventory stayed above that and was long, okay? So you can see here, even though the overnight inventory wasn't faded, this gives you an immediate edge because we opened up above the prior initial balance and then we immediately started trading to the upside, right? So if you don't see the initial reaction as a rebalancing of the overnight inventory, even though that strategy, if you will, isn't playing out, that immediately tells you, okay, buyers are stepping in, and the higher probability play that the overnight inventory gets balanced is not playing out. That gives you an edge as well. So you can not only take this rebalancing of the inventory as an edge, but if it doesn't work, or if you don't see that rebalancing start to happen off the open, and conversely, you see initiative buying at a level where sellers are supposed to step in, boom, you have an edge to get long. You could get long off the open, a stop loss below the daily low, a stop loss below the prior initial balance high, even a stop loss below the value area high, because we know if price breaks back down into this value area and starts to print some TPO prints, that increases the probability or shifts the probability then to a value area rotation back to the downside. I hope that you guys are seeing how you can use this information to entirely eliminate guesswork. It is purely if this, then that. If overnight inventory is too long, watch for early selling pressure as weak longs exit. If overnight inventory is too short, watch for moves to the upside in regards to short covering. Watch for that rebalance of the overnight inventory. This is especially relevant if we have a gap open. If you have a gap to the upside, for example, and you have a long overnight inventory as well, boom, you are now know that the probability has shifted to a gap and go, where we are opening with a gap and we are moving in that same direction of the gap of the overnight inventory. However, if we open, for example, with a gap to the upside, but the overnight inventory is short, that then gives you an opportunity and furthermore a higher probability to know that it is likely or that you have an opportunity to fade the overnight inventory, right? So let me be clear. If we open with a gap to the upside and the overnight inventory is long, that gives you a higher probability that we are going to see a gap and go and a continuation of the trend and the long inventory, or the inventory that is in the same direction of that gap, okay? Now, once more, if we have a gap to the upside in this example, and we have an opposing overnight inventory where the overnight inventory is then short, then you will have an opportunity and a higher probability to fade that overnight trend and go with the rebalancing and the fading of the overnight inventory. These are just very simple tools that you can use on a daily basis to gain an edge. There are an infinite amount of edges in the market, and as long as you can pick one and stick to it and trust it, you will very likely see much better results than a large majority of folks who are trying to make money in the markets. These are just techniques that have resonated with me throughout the years of finding my niche, finding what works for me, and finding what works best for my trading psychology. So I really hope that you guys can experience the same thing that I did, where I felt lost for a very long time. And then I started to really understand the market profile, and I really started to understand the concept of if this, then that. Use your brain like an algorithm. Our brains are computers after all, and if we can eliminate the guesswork, it allows us to do our job and ultimately take money out of the markets more than we lose it. So just to recap here, this is the example from today's price action. This is today's profile. This is last night into this morning's overnight session, and this is the June 20th. This is last Friday's regular trading hour session. So settlement was right around 21,875. That means that the overnight inventory was short. And very simply, we opened up and these traders from the short overnight inventory were trapped. And that is where we find opportunity. And that is how you can take advantage of this. So watch for the overnight to get faded. The overnight inventory, if it is imbalanced in one direction, there is a higher probability that it will get rebalanced in the opposite direction the next day. Now, I will talk about balanced trading activity in another video, but balanced trading activity basically just means that there is no long or short overnight inventory, and there is a balanced range or balanced market activity. We are not holding or doing more business above or below the settlement price from the prior regular trading hour session, and we know that that means that there's a lower probability for trending price action in the subsequent session. I will dig into that in a further market profile video, but I really just wanted to drive the idea home of analyzing the overnight inventory and using that to create your trade plan, okay? So how you can use this daily once more is before the open, you want to mark where the settlement price is, all right? If you're using the NinjaTrader market profile, it is going to be notated by C period on a session that is already closed. If you're using the Rancho Dinero market profile, it quite literally has a little caret next to the closing price and it says close, all right? You then need to assess the overnight skew. Is the inventory skewed to one side or the other? If so, you need to plan for a trend following or reversion, right? Based on what the overnight inventory is showing you. If we are gap up, like I said, and you have long overnight inventory, then it's likely going to be a trend following day. If we don't have a gap and the inventory is balanced, well, then it's likely or more likely to be a mean reversion or range trading day. And I'm going to expand on this significantly, but this should give you guys a lot to chew on until my next video. So you need to understand that every single day there is information before the market opens that will guide your trading day. It is up to you to understand it and furthermore utilize it appropriately, but just know that it is there and it is life-changing if you can focus and you can learn to trust it. The overnight inventory tells you where the weak hands are, and once you see where they are leaning, you know where the opportunity is. Read it. Do not chase, and trade from a place of clarity, knowing that this information is here for you and there is zero guesswork involved. Use it to your advantage, and I promise you that your trading will change for the better forever. Now, as always, as I wrap up, I just want to thank you guys immensely for taking the time to watch this content. If you guys are enjoying the market profile content, if you are carving out your own edge in the market using this information, using what you are learning from these videos, please drop a comment down below and let me know. It motivates me and lets me know that I am doing exactly what I need to be doing in creating content to help you guys gain financial freedom. Please make sure that you like, subscribe, and click that bell notification to be notified every single time that I post videos here on the TTN channel. And if you have any questions about how I use this, if you have any comments about how you're using it, please let me know. Please feel free to hit me up on Discord, Instagram, or down in the comments once again. And I am here to help any way that I possibly can. I appreciate you guys. Thank you for taking the time to watch the videos that I create, and I can't wait to see you in the next one. Much love.